Yo, how's it going, everybody? We're back for another edition of All In, and this week is going to be a little different. We're not going to go by the usual rules of a minimum of 5 original studio albums. We're going to shed some light on some of the albums that are one-offs. What do I mean by that? I'm talking about bands that only released one album in their entire career. So what we're going to do is, instead of doing like one album for one episode, because that's not going to be long enough, that's not what she said. but anyhow, what we're doing here is we're going to feature 8 different bands, with each of them with their own one album. And it's going to range from, like, you're going to have like one classic rock band, there's going to be a punk band, you know, a supergroup, one that's like metal, and then 4 of them are going to be actually like new metal bands. So yeah, here we go. So we're going to start off talking about the album Coverdale Page. And I did mention this briefly in the Led Zeppelin video. So we got David Coverdale of Whitesnake and Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin forming this little group right here. So Coverdale Page, that released in 1993. And so what we start off with here is Shake My Tree, Waiting on You, Take Me for a Little While, Pride and Joy, I love that song, Over Now, Feeling Hot, Easy Does It, Take a Look at Yourself, Don't Leave Me This Way, Absolution Blues, and Whisper a Prayer for the Dying. And so yeah, you kind of get a mix of Led Zeppelin and Whitesnake here. And it's coming out in 93. It could be, as GMC would call it, a receding hairline band. But yeah, very unique album, very good album. I actually bought this at an antique shop, of all places. It was like, you know, dirt cheap. I only paid like $4.75 for it. Like, what the hell, you know. And I didn't really give it a chance until now, and I loved it. So, great album. Never had any more from these guys again. So moving on. Next band, we have the Sex Pistols. And, of course, their album, Nevermind the Bullocks, Here's the Sex Pistols. This dropped in 1977, and I got into this album probably around, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe like early to mid-2000s. And from the first time hearing it till now, loved it. Damn good album. It's a shame they didn't come out with more material other than like B-sides. But here we get Holidays in the Sun, Bodies, No Feelings, Liar, Problems, God Save the Queen, which you know a few other artists have covered. 17, Anarchy in the UK, very widely covered by other bands. Like, I knew Megadeth covered it, Motley Crue covered it, I'm sure I'm missing a couple other bands that covered it. You got Submission, Pretty Vacant, New York, and EMI. And if you like that old European, like the UK punk music from like the 70s, early 80s, this is essential. Great album. Love it. It's one of those albums that, like, say if I was a teenager in 1977, I'd probably be sneaking this past my parents. I also remember, like, something else that sticks out about this album, more so a reference than anything. If you've ever watched that 70s show, later in the series, Hyde was working in a music store and was giving Kitty, like a free album. And the Sex Pistols was like one of them, and she was like, guns aren't made for the bedroom, and it's like, who's Johnny Rotten, you know? And then later on in the episode, Hyde's like, here, I'll make it up to you. You ever hear of a band called Judas Priest? Are they spiritual? I listen to them every Sunday. And then she turns on the tape, and Hell Bent for Leather comes on. But yeah, I remember like their reference to the Sex Pistols there. But yeah, damn good album. Like, an essential album if you're into punk rock, for sure. So then, moving on to a more modern one, we have Them Crooked Vultures. And this is one of those bands I totally forgot about until now. So, they released their one and only album back in 2009 called Them Crooked Vultures. So here in the lineup, basically we got a supergroup in this. So basically we got Josh Michael Holm, he's lead vocals, also known with Queens of the Stone Age. You got John Paul Jones, who was with Led Zeppelin. And then you got, of course, Dave Grohl, who's the drummer. So we have a pretty good mix of eras here within, like, the members of this supergroup. So you got your classic rock, you got your grunge, and you got your, well, I'm not going to really call it nu metal, but more alternative. But it actually was a damn good album. First time hearing it, I actually enjoyed it. So, awesome stuff. And I remember hearing, when I first heard Them Crooked Vultures, I remember hearing the song New Fang. Like, it was, I think it was on, like, regular radio a little bit. Sirius was playing it, and then after about a year, it's like you forgot about it. But definitely an overlooked album for sure. Definitely recommend checking that one out. Okay, so moving on to another one, and what we got here is Damage Plan. That's right. So this is the one and only album they did. So the band, as you may know your metal history, maybe you don't know. So Pantera ended up splitting up. So then Dimebag and Vinnie Paul ended up going into this new band called Damage Plan. And they recorded this album. They actually, they released a single, Save Me, which, damn good song. Loved it. And then, of course, you know, as you may know, like, the whole history of it, Damage Plan's at a concert, performing, and a crazed former Pantera fan ends up shooting Dimebag. And that was pretty much the whole demise of that band. And, of course, Pantera, as a band, didn't come back until recently. Obviously, without the two brothers. It's a shame. Never got to see Damage Plan in concert. I did get to see Pantera, however, before that whole shooting happened. But getting to the songs, you have Wake Up, Breathe a New Life, Newfound Power, Pride, Fuck You, Reborn, Explode. The big track off of this, Save Me. You got Cold Blooded, Crawl, Blink of an Eye, Blunt Force Trauma, Moment of Truth, and we end it with Soul Bleed. And I must say, with the song Soul Bleed, I almost get like a 90s, sort of like a 90s sad grunge vibe out of that song. The way it's kind of like, you know, written. It just, if a band like Alice in Chains would cover that song, it would totally be grunge, for sure. But, yeah, awesome album. It's like, whenever I first got it, I only got it for the song Save Me, and then, like, you know, shelf the rest, but give it another chance. Great album. Definitely recommend it for sure. And before that album, before they released that album, they actually released a one-off track called Ashes to Ashes, which it was, you could find it on the Punisher soundtrack. They actually teamed up with Jerry Cantrell of Alice in Chains on that track. So, yeah, like I said, it's a shame. It's like, you get these one-off albums, like a lot of times it has to do with maybe the band was a supergroup and that's all they released, or a lot of times maybe the band wasn't that successful and they just never made it, or in this case, you know, the death of a member and they just never went on with it. So it's a shame. But yeah, Damage Plan, recommend it. Newfound Power, recommend it. So, sort of starting off with the last half of the video, the stretch of nu metal bands. We have, right here, the Union Underground. That's right. I remember first hearing them on, like, those of you local to Harrisburg, I remember hearing them on 105.7 They had that one song, Turn Me On, Mr. Deadman. That actually had heavy rotation, like, back around that time, back around 2000. And loved the song. I went and bought the album, and not off BMG either. I went to the store and bought it, and I think it was like dirt cheap. It's like you don't get this with downloads. You have like these stickers, these promo stickers, like debut album includes "Turn Me On, Mr. Deadman." Such a deal. And of course, you got your parental advisory too. Lots of swearing in this album if you like swearing. But they were also on the Ozfest 2001 tour as well, so they definitely got their share of exposure. You know, considering they only are one album. I think they had like an EP before this that kind of got a lot of buzz, which led on to this album. And then after that, you heard no more from them. But the song listing, so we have An Education in Rebellion, which I guess was like the intro. Then you got Drivel, and then South Texas Death Ride. And then, of course, the breakout track to it, Turn Me On, Mr. Deadman. And then you have Until You Crack, Killing the Fly, Natural High, and my favorite song off of this, Revolution Man. What a damn good tune. You got Trip with Jesus, Bitter, and we end it with the Friend song. And this, like the next two I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, it was kind of like I liked a couple songs off of it, and then I sort of shelved it. But I went back and just now listened to it for the first time in probably 20 years, and it's actually pretty damn good. You sort of get a mix, like, if you like the band Dope, you'll definitely love these guys. They kind of rival Dope a little bit as far as, like, the sound goes. So you get a little, you definitely get a new metal, you definitely get a little bit of, like, the industrial rock in there. And I almost hear a hint of, like, Marilyn Manson in that, too, a little bit, from time to time. But yeah, definitely worth checking out, for sure. Maybe you heard of them, maybe you haven't. But this next one we're going to talk about is called Pressure 4-5. And I don't even think I heard these guys on regular radio, to be honest with you. I think it was like, there was that little bit of a time when I used to watch MTV too, because MTV was fully on to shows by the early 2000s, and then you had MTV2, which took on the 24-hour video format at that time, and they used to do like a rock block every night. And this is where I heard Pressure 4-5 for the first time, with their song Beat the World. And so here the track listing goes kind of like this. You start off with These Hands, Beat the World, Melt Me Down, Enough, Dehydration, Stars, New Wave, Even Worse, Proven, and Into Yesterday. And yeah, so this album, Burning the Process, it came out in 2001, so right at the height of nu metal. Kind of has more like of an alternative vibe, but real heavy. Not bad. It was another one of those where I got it for the one song, and I sort of like, you know, I listened to it once, maybe skip to that song, shelf it. But yeah, you never hear these. This is what I would call a second stage band. You know, it was nu metal, but it wasn't popular. So then, moving on to another one that wasn't real popular, the band No One, with their one and only album, No One. I believe it was, yeah, No One. So, here again, sort of the same story, released the same year. Saw them on MTV2 as well during their rock block. Never heard them on the radio either. And, you know, same story here. I listened to the one song that I liked. You know, maybe listen to the album once or twice. Maybe skip to that one song and then shelf it. So, here we have Down On Me. We have Chemical, which was the big tune off of this. It's Real. Shedding. My Release. Again. Cut. Nothing. Inside Out. Mindless. Breathe. Hype. And Falling. And yeah, you just never really, it just never really caught on, you know. They were like, they did play at Ozfest with bigger bands like Slipknot and all them, but they never got really any success, and they disbanded shortly thereafter. So yeah, sort of similar stories between them and Pressure 4-5, but yeah, another second stager, I would say. But moving on to the last one, and this could be debatable. We move on to the band Snot. That's right. Mainly with their album Get Some. Now, they were early to the game in the nu metal world, for sure. I remember hearing them on the radio. They had the song called The Box. And so what ended up happening is their lead singer ended up passing away in a car accident. So here we go. We have basically like another death in the rock world. And sadly, it was before this band really, really took off. Like, I really think that had the lead singer not died, had Lynn Straight not died, this band would have been way popular. I'll guarantee it. But anyhow, we start off with the song Snot, Stupid, spelled Stoopid. You got Joyride, you got the single The Box, Snooze Button, 313, Get Some, Deadfall, I like that song, I Just Lie, another good one, Get Some ODs, I guess it's like a D's Nuts joke, Unplugged, Teccato, Mr. Brett, you got Get Some Keys, and then we end it with My Balls. That's a damn funny song too. It starts off with My Balls, you're a cheap. Really awesome song. I mean, if I was younger, I'd have been sneaking that one past my parents for sure. But yeah, real good album. That one I loved it from the start and always did. So I didn't actually purchase this until maybe the early 2000s, whenever nu metal was like really at its prime. So yeah, like I said, they were real early to the game, I would say. But I'd say this is debatable because there is a second album with them. However, this was released after Lynn Straight's death. So, essentially what we have here is a tribute to Lynn Straight. So, all the songs on this particular album here, it's like a compilation, but they took... They had all the tracks done for the next album, and then what they did here is they brought in, like, guest vocalists to kind of fill in. So, what we have here is, this came out in 2000, and this is definitely a nu metal compilation for sure. You have Surge of System of a Down with Starlit Eyes. We have Take It Back featuring Jonathan Davis from Korn. I Know Where You At, which was MCUD from Head PE. Catch the Spirit, which was Max of Soulfly. Until Next Time with Jason of RKL. You have Divided, which was Brandon of Incubus. And then Ozzy kind of like gives his condolences to him and whatnot. So yeah, Ozzy still being an influence on nu metal at this point. You know, love the fact that he gave his condolences here. Then you have probably the most popular track off of this is Angel's Son by Sevendust, by Legion of Sevendust. And Sevendust did actually release their own version of this song. But that's probably the best track off of this whole album, I would say. You have Forever with Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit. You got Funeral Lights featuring Dez of Coal Chamber. You have Requiem with Corey Taylor of Slipknot. Another great track off of this. Love it. You have Reaching Out with Mark McGrath of Sugar Ray. And yes, Sugar A was a nu metal band for maybe a couple albums. Maybe their first two albums before they ended up making it big with their song Fly. So yeah, a little fun fact there. And then we end it, second to last song would be the song Absent by the band Snot. So they had that track actually finished. And a damn good song too. Like, I so wish they could have done a second album with Lynn Straight. And then you have a remix called Sad Air, which is like, sort of like a mashup of like a lot of the best of like the Get Some album. It's a really cool tribute. Really awesome tribute. And then they actually did a live album. They released a live album in 2002, and at the end of that album, they actually did another studio song called Choose What. And it's actually a variation of Starlit Eyes. It's just that it's got Lynn Straight as vocalist instead of Surge from System of a Down. And then, you know, the band, they did try and reunite a couple times over the years, you know, minus Lynn Straight, obviously. But they did try to bring in Tony Vex who he was known for Bad Wolves later on, but I mean that didn't really last too long or anything. No real studio stuff or release there, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this odd edition of All In featuring one-offs, bands with one album, and rest in peace to those who died within this whole discography. It's a shame. So Vinnie Paul and Dimebag, they're gone, rest in peace. And then you got Lynn Straight of Snot, also rest in peace. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode of All In. I don't know, I think we're going to take a big break from the original All In series for a while, but eventually I may come back and do a couple of other bands, who knows. So, stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed all the other episodes that we did here. So, we'll see you next time, and we'll also see you at the bar too as we're drinking beers.